Good morning and welcome to Norcal Ptac webinar in partnership with the California Department of General Services, Office of Small Business and Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Services. Nice little mouthful. The webinar is called How to Do Business with the State of California. My name is James. I'm James Forrest. I'm the program coordinator for Norcal Ptac. I'll talk about who we are in a second. But we are very lucky to have Wayne Gross, as we've been lucky many times before, to be giving the main presentation today on how to do business with California. And he should know he is a business outreach liaison with the California TGS. So like I said, I'm going to hand things over to Wayne in just a second. I just want to briefly touch on who Norcal Ptac is. We are the hosts of the webinar. PTAC stands for, well, the whole thing stands for Northern California Procurement Technical Assistance Center, which is also its own mouthful. So that's just kind of how this whole world works. It's a lot of acronyms filling in for long phrases. We are a nonprofit program. We're actually not a government agency, but we're funded by government agencies. We're a nationwide program across the whole United States with about 100 separate independently run centers across the country. And what we do is we provide no-cost services to businesses who are looking to get into government contracting, especially small businesses. So our reason for existence is to help out the little guy get into contracting when it can really be kind of a lot to tackle all at once for small business resources. So in 2021, we helped our clients win more than $500 million, $500 million in government contracts, which is pretty phenomenal. We do this in a number of ways. We ourselves, Norcal Ptac, you can see our service area here in the map on the right. These are the counties that we cover as our own. And what that means is that if you have a business that's registered in one of those counties, then you can apply to us for client services. If you're not in one of those counties today, that's fine. You can join any of our resources and trainings, our webinars that we put out. That's totally fine. But if you'd like client services, you should be in one of those counties. Otherwise, I'll unfortunately have to reject your application. But there's other PTACs across the country. You can find the link down at the bottom, aptac-us/find-a-PTAC. There's the California Capital PTAC. There's all kinds of PTACs across California and the whole country. But if you are in this service area and you would like a client's relationship with us, here's what it looks like. Basically, we have a team of procurement specialists who can sit down with you on a video chat, via email, phone, whatever works for you, except for in person right now, and go over any of the processes that are required to sell your goods and services to the government. So if you need help with marketplace research, if you need help with getting your certifications, all of that is something that we can help with in terms of finding bids, how to bid on them, bid compliance, all sorts of things. We can also set you up with a custom bid matching profile. That's pretty neat. Basically, it scrapes the internet and sends bid opportunities that match criteria that you work out with your procurement specialist, and then it puts them in your inbox so you can stay on top of those. And then, of course, as I mentioned, and as you all know today, we put on webinars pretty regularly, and those are always also free to join and free for everyone, no matter where your geographical location is. We only ask that you, for the client services, that you be in our area, that you have an established business. So we don't want brand new startups that are still trying to get their EIN number and their business license. We want established businesses that are interested in government contracting, not grants or something else, not financing, not startup assistance, contracting competitively, and that you're ready to go with us. So that should be it. Our website there is norcalptac.org. You'll find the red apply now button on the top. That's how you get started with us. And I'll be around for the rest of the webinar if anybody has any questions about our organization. And you have my contact information on the bottom of the slides there. And you can also find that on our website, of course. So thanks so much for joining. Let's just go talk about some housekeeping for the webinar real quick. I can go back here. Questions are welcome. We want questions. Wayne is going to have several Q&A sessions interspersed through the content. So please, you don't have to save them up. What you want to do is enter your question into the Q&A tab in Zoom. And we have a little screenshot there of what the Q&A tab looks like as soon as it pops in your mind. Make sure that you fully articulate it. So it's a clear question. It's clear what you're talking about. Questions like, I didn't understand that, or how much does that cost, aren't very helpful, because by the time we get to the Q&A session, the content may have passed. Questions like, I sell janitorial, are there any contracts for janitorial, are also not quite as useful, because we want to think of what's a good question for everybody, what's kind of an issue that everyone might find useful. But that being said, go ahead and enter whatever you'd like in the Q&A within reason, and we'll get to it, and I will read it aloud for Wayne during the Q&A sessions. If you have any networking, or if you have any technical issues or something like that, you can put it in the chat and I will respond there as well. Everybody is muted during this webinar, just to keep things nice and orderly. If you have any questions, if you know the mode of communication you can use through typing. And just to note that we are recording this session, and the recording, as well as a PDF of all the slides, will be posted to our website and shared with everyone later today. So I think that should cap off my spiel here. And let's hand things over to Wayne Gross, who's a business liaison with the California DGS. And we're very lucky to have him as usual. So thanks, Wayne, and take it away.
Thank you, James. Let's go to the next slide. Again, my name is Wayne Gross. Please don't confuse me with Wayne Gross, Oakland A's MVP 1982. I am not the rich baseball player. I'm the poor state worker. I am a business outreach liaison with the Office of Small Business and Dvbe Services. My email address is wayne.gross@dgs.ca.gov. And my new phone number is a Teams number, 279-946-8387. And I'm your atypical state worker. I guarantee that the only dumb question is the one you don't ask. And that question will not be during my work hours of Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. You'll be sitting Monday night watching Dancing with the Stars with your partner, and that question will come up. And so you want to make sure that you either can call me, you can text me, and don't be surprised if you actually get a response. And I either can answer the question then and there, or say, hey, call me tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, okay? So I am here for you. Next slide. Our topics. We're going to talk about the Small Business Dvbe Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Program. Talk about the 3 certifications, the benefits, the Cali Procure registration and certification, keywords, and the United Nations Specialty Product Specialty Codes. We're going to look at current bid solicitations, the past purchases, the advocates, those are your new best friends. We're going to talk about the California Multiple Award Schedule, commercially useful function, or CUF, and finally the emergency registry. So, and resources, of course. So the state has 2 goals. We have a small business goal of 25% and a Dvbe goal of 3%. Next slide. And you'll notice that I'm giving you data for 2 years ago, because they have not formally published the 2021 data. But 2 years ago, we bought $12 billion, that's with a B, $12 billion worth of goods and services, of which 23% or $2.8 billion went to small business, and 3.8% or 336 million went to Dvbes. Now, the one thing I can tell you about last year's numbers is the Dvbe 3% goal has been exceeded for the last 10 years. But it's those 2 things that have are happening. One is COVID, the other is the fires, that we have not been able to meet our small business goal. And at the very end, I show you a registry that you can log into and get registered if you can help with emergencies. Next slide. So we have 3 certifications: small business for the purpose of public works, and disabled veteran business enterprise. Now, next slide. You will find that if you do any other certifications, that our state certification is the simplest and quickest. Back in the 70s, we had an expression that was called KISS, keep it simple, stupid. That is our mantra for all this. So here are the requirements. You must be independently owned and operated. You can't be dominant in the field of operation. What that means in English is there's competition out there. There's at least someone else doing what you do. The principal office has to be here in California. We don't want any of the riffraff from Nevada, Arizona, Oregon, okay? And its owners have to be domiciled here in California. Next slide. And the business has to have 100 or fewer employees and gross annual receipts of 15 million. And that is averaged over the previous 3 tax years. And if you happen to be a manufacturer, it's 100 or fewer employees. There's no GARs, no gross annual receipts required for this certification. Next slide. For the small business for public works, we added this 2 years ago, and the first 4 are the same. Must be independently owned and operated, can't be dominant in your field. Principal office is in California, and the owners must be domiciled in California. Here is where we draw the line. With the PW, you have a business can be up to 200 or fewer employees and have gross annual receipts of 36 million or less. Now, if you are a manufacturer, you have to meet both the 200 employees and the 36 million. And so here you have the small business and the small business PW. Do you need to get both? No. Okay. If you are a small business and you aren't even getting near the 100 employees or the 15 million, don't even consider the PW if you're into public works. If you're starting to get up to those 100 and the 15 million, then get the public works one, okay? But most people don't have to get the public works one. Next slide. The Dvbe eligibility requirements. Okay, you have to be at least 10% service disabled. You have a DD 214 saying that, and you have your letter from the VA saying that you are at least 10% disabled. And you must own 51% of the company. And if your company is an LLC, it must be wholly owned by one or more disabled veterans. It's all or nothing. Next slide. And here's the big thing. The daily business operations must be managed and controlled by the DVBEs. Okay. Next slide. So, are there any questions to be answered?
I do not see any questions in the Q&A app.
Okay. Okay. So let's keep on going. The benefits of certification. Okay, the first one is obviously access to contract opportunities. Once you get registered and certified, you will get a profile that the world can see. We have a small business bid preference and a Dvbe incentive. And we'll talk about the Prompt Payment Act, that if you don't get paid within 45 days of an undisputed invoice, we add a fee to that. And then we're going to talk about our reciprocity partners. These are agencies throughout the state that honor our small business and or DVBE certifications. Next slide. Okay, the small business preference. We have two bidders. Bidder A is not certified. Bidder B is certified. Bidder A bids 100,000 and bidder B bids 102. Just with that information, bidder A should win. However, it says written in the solicitation that there will be a preference. And so as the administrator, I will take 5% of the lowest non-certified bid. So 5% of 100,000 is 5,000. I subtract that from the certified bid. 102 minus 5,000 is now 97. So bidder A is 100, bidder B is now 97. Well, bidder B wins the contract, okay, at the original amount of 102,000. It pays to get certified. And the one thing I forgot to mention, how much is this going to cost you? Nothing. This is free. All of our certifications are free. You should never, ever have to pay anyone to get certified. Doesn't matter if you're state, federal, or local. Next slide. And the Dvbe incentive here again is written into the solicitation, and it varies from 1 to 5%. And it is stackable. If you are certified small business and Dvbe, you could be up to 10% in, with the small business preference and the Dvbe incentive. Next slide. So this is our website, www.caliprocure.ca.gov. The first time that you get to this website, I highly recommend you make it a favorite. Then you don't have to type that in anymore, okay? Here again, the KISS principle. Make it as simple as possible. Next slide. Okay, as you scroll down on the bottom right, the Get Certified box, you want to click that. And you have the SB Ddbe certification. Scroll down this page till you come to the Prompt Payment Program Assistance. We open this up, and this is the prompt payment information. It explains the whole program. The one thing you need to know is it is only for small business certification, not DVBEs. And so if you are a DVBE, I highly recommend that if you qualify for the small business, get them both. Next slide. So we're going to go back to caliprocure.ca.gov. Scroll down, next slide. This time we're going to click on the bottom right one, find training and resources. And once we're on this page, we're going to scroll down until we come to resources to grow your business. And this first bullet is our reciprocity partners. Click on it. And this takes you to the reciprocity page. And you'll notice the reciprocity partners are arranged throughout the state. It starts with the Bay Area, then goes to Sacramento and Yolo counties, then LA and San Diego. You'll notice under this Bay Area, I've got Bart. There's a line under Bart, and then it says they accept both small business and Ddbe certifications. That line under Bart signifies a link. So when you click it, you get this. Next slide. And I love this because as you see in the middle, it says that if you want to register to do business with Bart, click the green register button. That's how simple it is. And you'll fill out an application. and you will get a supplier ID number, just like you got when you registered and got certified with the state of California. That number identifies you in that database. So when you get your supplier ID number for Bart, that is when you talk to them, you're going to give them your supplier ID number in Bart. Okay, next slide. So as you go down the page, like I said, you go through LA and San Diego, and then you come to the utilities. Now, the utilities are not reciprocity or reciprocity partners per se. However, they do honor the Dvbe certification. There are 41 reciprocity partners and 29 utilities that you could get certified with. And it says here, learn more. So you click that, takes you to the next page. And this is the page for the Supplier Diversity Program that is put on by the California Public Utilities Commission, the CPUC. If you are a woman, minority, Dvbe, or LGBTQ+, you can get registered with them as a disadvantaged business enterprise. As a Dvbe, once you get certified with DGS, your application goes into their database. And so what I tell Dvbes is to go in and look up your profile and make sure that the contact information is correct. A lot of the times, someone's secretary puts their information on there and they quit or whatever. You just want to make sure that the name and contact information, phone number is correct, and make sure your federal employer ID number, your FEIN, is also correct. If you have any questions, you would want to contact the advocate for the CPUC, and I will show you where that is later on in this presentation. Next slide. Any questions on this section, James?
Yes, we have an excellent question from Nathan Lortz here. Nathan's
Okay.
asking, does the prompt payment system require its own registration to participate, or does the
No.
enrollment in the program automatically come with the SB registration?
It automatically comes. It's a process that if you turn in an invoice, it's undisputed. Within 45 days, you should get a check in the mail. If it's past 45 days, they should automatically put a late fee, should be attached to your check. And if it's not, then you contact your administrator and say, hey, my invoice was for $10,000. I got the check at 60 days. I should have 15 days of late payment attached. Where is it?
Great. We have another question from Salgu here. Can you re-explain how to register as a diversity small business, or who qualifies?
Okay, you have to be either woman-owned, minority, or a LGBTQ. And that page that I showed you has the links to where you do the online certification.
This one?
Yes. See, it says apply on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
It's very simple. So.
Great. And don't forget, folks, that you're all going to get these slides in PDF form later in the I don't think those links will be clickable, but you can go to the website and find those.
That is correct.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions before we get show running again? Okay.
Okay.
Enter them when they pop in your head, and we're happy to get to them.
That's right. Okay. Cali Procure. This is where you register your business. And this is, you apply for, once you get registered, then you can apply for the small business or Ddbe certifications. This is where you will search for bids, solicitations, and contracts. It's free. That's the website. And if you happen to be one of those people in this webinar that is too big, you can't get certified, you can still get registered in Cali Procure and still receive solicitations. We are an equal opportunist, and so anyone can register. Next slide. So here we are back at caliprocure.ca.gov. On the top right, there's a button that says Log in Register. We click it. Next slide. Uh-oh. There we go. Now at the very bottom of the login, it says new bidder registration. So we click that button. And there's 5 pages, and it is the KISS principle in perfection. You're basically establishing a username and password. And so this is what you get that you've successfully submitted your registration. And so then it tells you, you go to your email, go to the next slide. And this is what the system creates. And it gives you it gives you your user ID and a temporary password. And then underneath it says URL, and you just click that login, and it'll take you to the next page where you put in your user ID and password, and then you click login. And what happens is, this is for your security. If the login fails, okay? And it forces you to put in your own personal password, because we're going to ask you for your it could possibly be your social security number or your last 3 tax returns. Obviously, you don't want the world to see all that. You put in your password, and it's a very simple. It has to be at least 8 digits, 1 uppercase, 1 lowercase, 1 number, and 1 special. And so then you change your password. Next slide. And you go user ID and password, and you're in. Now you'll notice at the very bottom, I circled, I forgot my password. I don't know about you, but depending on the system, I may have, I've got like 5 or 6 different passwords. And so if you forgot it, you just click that, and the system will generate a temporary one, and then it'll force you again into creating your own special password. Next slide. So we are at your work center, and it has here no certification record, and you click Get Started. Next slide. And it has here, click Get Certified or Recertified, okay? And on the, if you can go back one. There you go. And you'll see that before you begin your application for certification, be prepared to upload the following. It tells you what they want. Okay, so next slide. Now, here are the requirements, PDFs at the very top for each one of them. And then here is the start of the online application. You can check small business and Dvbe at the same time, okay? So, which I highly recommend. What happens is, once you start this procedure, once you go through all 7 pages and attach everything, if you are certified just small business, or if you do small business and Dvbe, you should get, congratulations, you're certified small business. With the Dvbe, or if you are an LLC, you will not get congratulations. It will give you, it's pending. Someone has to look at your application, because like for the Dvbe, we need that entitlement letter saying that you're at least 10% certified, 10% disabled. Okay, next slide. The United Nations Standard Product and Services Codes, the UNSPSC. Now, it's an 8-digit code. There are 4 levels. The first level, level 1, is the first 2 digits and 6 zeros. Level 2 is the first 4 digits and 4 zeros. Level 3 is the first 6 digits and 2 zeros. And we call that the parent codes because it ends in 00, if you will. And then finally, level 4 is the 8-digit specific code. We use both the parent codes, level 3, and the 8-digit codes. Next slide. Any questions on this section?
All right, yeah, we do have a couple questions. Salgu's asking, if you qualify for multiple diversity certifications, does it stack in your favor, or can you only register for one? I think that's a false dichotomy there. For example, LGBT also owned, also minority owned.
Okay, those would be for the CPUC. Remember, the state only does small business and DVBE. So
Right.
What you asked for would be for the utilities.
Right, which you're pointing towards, but the DGS just doesn't directly concern.
No, that is correct, yes.
So Wayne is being so kind as to indicate that this certification system exists, but it's not the one that this webinar is about.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, great. We don't have any other questions at this time, so we can keep moving.
Okay, let's keep on moving. Okay, bid solicitations and past purchases. That is the California State Contracts Register, the CSCR, and the past purchases is Skippers, the State Contract and Procurement Registration System. Next slide. Okay, so we go to Cali Procure and we can go to Quick Links and and you go, you open up Quick Links and the first one says find bid opportunities, or just on the home page there in the middle, you've got the CSCR start search. Either one will get you there. Next slide. So there are 3 ways that you can find a solicitation. The first is event name. What that means is that's a general description like paint or computer, whatever. Second way is if you happen to have the event ID, okay? And the third is by department. And you'll notice to the right are 3 black lines. And when you click it, next slide, you get a list, a numerical list of all the departments. If you're looking for Caltrans, you just keep on looking and looking and looking because you'll never find it. Why? Because it is Department of Transportation. The same with CalVet, it's Department of Veterans Affairs. Anyway, so you can put in those codes and you'll get all of their solicitations specific to that agency. Next slide. And you can also do an advanced search and you click on that. And you can search by UNSPSC codes, service areas. The service areas are the counties. And you can also do by contractor license type. Next slide. Okay, so I put in event ID. I just happen to know what this one is, and I hit search. Next slide. And here's what it looks like. Okay, and so I want to download it. So I click download, and it opens up. And this is what a typical solicitation looks like. On the far left is the event ID. When it was published, it gives a general description, gives you an idea, do I want to open it up or not? In the middle, the bottom line says event end date. That is synonymous with every solicitation, be it state, federal, or local, a time and date. I want to do a real quick sidebar. I contact the administrator and say, hey, I can't get this quote up to you. Can I fax it to you? They go, oh yeah, no problem. So they give me the fax number. And so it says it has to be in by 2 o'clock. So at 5 to 2, I click my fax and I've got 5 pages, and it starts at 5 till, and it ends at 2 minutes after 2. James, is that a viable quote?
No, that will not be a viable quote.
That is correct. That is not. It is not the start. It is the end. Can you go back a slide, please? So just a warning, started at 1 o'clock. Okay, so anyway, so on the right side is the event package, all of the handouts. The next is post a, and then view an ad. Okay, after that you have the contact information. I like to show this one because this is the exception. What I mean by that is Mr. Fisher has actually given you his personal phone number. Okay, 90% of our solicitations, you will not get their phone number. And the reason is this. I contact Mr. Fisher about this solicitation. I tell him there's something wrong. And he goes, Wayne, you're right. Now, of course, I've done all of this via email. Okay. And so he says he's going to change it, but he doesn't. Okay. And it gets awarded to, Joe Schmo over here. Anyway, so I protest it. Okay. We go in front of a judge and the judge says, what's going on? And I told the judge, here's what I found. And Mr. Fisher agreed with me. He said he was going to change it, but he didn't. And he awarded it to Joe Schmo over here. And the judge says to me, do you have proof of all this correspondence? And I said, oh, you mean these 10 emails? And I give them to the judge, and the judge says, I'm sorry, Mr. Fisher, but this guy's, Wayne here is correct. And Joe Schmo, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to rescind the approval. And Mr. Fisher, you're going to have to correct this and repost it. Okay. So by having the written documents, i.e. the emails, you're covered. A phone call won't do the trick. Okay. The last thing on here is the pre-bid conference. The Caltrans is excellent in having mandatory pre-bid conferences. And here's why. If you are a prime and it's a mandatory pre-bid conference, you have to show up. You have to sign in, make sure that you're signed in. And what happens is Caltrans they'll have their meeting of whatever they want to tell about the solicitation. Then they'll tell the primes to go to their respective tables. And you as a sub can go to each one of these primes, introduce yourself, give them your business card, give them your capability statement. That's a resume that we'll be talking about. And, get to know them, okay? And so that's why Caltrans does this. Okay, next slide. Okay, this has here 12 attachments to this simple solicitation. The biggest thing I want everyone to know, the biggest problem that people have in filling out a quote is making sure that all of their documentation has signatures. make sure that all your documents have signatures on them if they are required. Okay, because you could have the best and the lowest solicitation, but you forgot to put your signature on a document. And here again, you're not following our instructions. Next slide. This is the slide on the ad, and it's the KISS principle in the works, okay? Your name, your email, your phone number, okay? Your title, you want to give it a title. And then description. It has 2,000 characters. And once you start typing, it goes 1999, 98, 97. That part's good. I always tell everyone to lead off with your certification number, your supplier ID, okay? Why? Because then the prime can go in, look up your profile. The first thing they're going to do is they're going to see that you are current on your certification, or that you're getting near and you need to get recertified, okay? And then they're going to look at your keywords and classification codes and verify that what you said you could do in this, this ad, you actually do in your California profile. Next slide. The last page of the solicitation is the UNSPSC codes. And if you had this code 78121603, you would have gotten an email saying that this department had a solicitation out there. Next slide. So we go to caliprocure.ca.gov. Okay. Next slide. And under quick links, the last option says find past purchases, skippers. Okay, next slide. And this is the search engine. And what James said, hey, are there any janitorial supply contracts out there? Okay. In the description, you would put in janitorial. Okay. That's one way you can do it. On the left side, I had a guy call me up and said, Wayne, he's there. My company has been doing business with the state for a couple of years now. I've taken over as their buyer. I want to know all the contracts. All he did was put in his supplier name and hit search. Okay. Now there's another way that you can do a search is the advanced search criteria. Click it. And the UNSPSC code section comes up, and you can put in the 8-digit code and hit search. And next slide. Next slide. And there you get the giant Excel spreadsheet. Now, the one thing I like to tell people is, you see how quick it went when I hit search and then this came up? It ain't going to happen, people. This is going all the way back to December 15th, 2015. We're talking 7 years of information. So I tell people, go to the bathroom, make yourself a cup of coffee. You might want to let the dog out, let him do his business. And hopefully when you come back, you'll get the Excel spreadsheet. What I'm saying is it is not instantaneous. So now, this Excel spreadsheet has a lot of good information. The first is the agency, the department, who owns the contract. The next is the purchase document, the purchase order. Okay, then it goes over to the first item on the contract. It tells you the start and end date, the grand total, and if the buyer was a certified small business or Ddbe. Next slide. And then it tells you how the contract was awarded. Was it the small business option, whatever that is, and or was it fair and reasonable, informal, competitive? There's whole different ways that the solicitation was awarded. Okay, And then the fourth column from the end is the buyer's name and email. Now, you are, by listening to this webinar, you're getting privileged information. We do not want you to contact the buyer. We want you to contact the advocate. And any agency that procures $100,000 or more must have an advocate. These are your new best friends. These are the people you contact, okay? Now, by giving you this privileged information about the buyer, if you had a question about this specific solicitation, okay, I highly recommend that you would send the email to Michelle Ramos Brown, okay, and do a CC to the advocate for the CDCR, which happens to be Nina Martinez, who happens to be on this webinar. Big Brother is watching, Nina. Anyway, so what I would do is I would contact Michelle and say, I would like to have the original solicitation. Here is the purchase order. And also for Nina, I would say, are there any other solicitations like this that you're aware of? Okay, next slide. Any questions on this portion?
We do have a couple questions here.
Okay.
This is a good one. Elias is asking, how long do we have to be in business for in order to apply for the Dvbe, or you could also ask the SB certification?
The nice thing is you can be a startup. If you're talking federal, 2 years.
All right. And then we got a question in the chat. Let me see if I can find it here. It's a little easier if you put it in the, all right. Marie is asking, is there any way to refine the search criteria on the Excel spreadsheet to reduce the number of items returned?
You can quantify the dates that you want. I personally like everything. That way I can, I'd rather have, 200 of them and see, what agencies are buying, my products. Because that's basically what you're looking for. Or you're looking for a solicitation. Generally speaking, solicitations are good for 3 years, and a lot of them have 1-year extensions up to 5 years. And so you'd want to look to see if there are anything like that, and then contact the administrator and say, hey, I see that this solicitation is going to be expiring and you're going to have to post a new one, and here's where you would ask, for the original solicitation so that you could, you've got information. Also, ask for the winning bid. Okay, that is free information that you're allowed to ask about. And so, especially if you've never bid, you get to see how a winning bid was won. Okay, because if you're brand new, Sac State did a study, probably 10 or 11 years ago, and found out that if you're brand new, you've never done any state contracting, it's going to take you 7 to 8 times before you actually get your first contract. So the name of the game is persistence. Learn from your mistakes, if you will.
That is very good data. That's
yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
Anything else?
I don't see any other questions here.
Okay, let's keep on going then.
All right.
The advocates. These are state employees whose job is to be there for you, okay? Now, realizing that there are different types of advocates. I mentioned Nina Martinez, who's on here. She is the advocate 24/7, 7 days a week, okay? There are other advocates on this list that I'm going to show you. It's 10% of their time, or 30% or 40%, whatever. So next slide. So we go to Cali Procure, the home page. Next slide. Go down to the bottom right to training and resources. Next slide. And we look for research and marketing. The second one says, contact a small business and DVBE advocate. Click on that. Takes you to the advocate page, and we download the advocate directory. Click it. And we have this giant Excel spreadsheet of 235 lines. And you'll notice that there's yellow highlights, okay? So I first want to talk about the thing called the small business DVBE option. The buyer has the option of going into the database and finding at least 2 small businesses or 2 DVBEs from 5,000 and a penny up to 250,000 minus a penny for IT and non-IT goods and services, and from 5,000 and a penny up to 388,000 for public works. Okay. Now, 5 years ago, our director said that the option was baloney. Why? First of all, he had people like me who represent DGS and the state of California trying to lure you people into getting certified. So would it not be logical for DGS buyers to come to you first? And so we created the first policy. We dropped that 5,000 and a penny down to 0, and the public works down to 0. Okay, so anything up to 250 minus a penny for IT and non-IT goods and services, and 0 up to 388,000 for public works. So with that saying, we still have to do the, this time the buyers are required, it's mandatory for them. There are 18 agencies now who have the first policy, and they are highlighted with using the yellow. Okay. Now, you'll notice that column C is highlighted. If you are in construction, the only people you need to market to are the ones with the X. Okay. So next slide. You're going to love this. Okay. This, it's now been 2 months. Caltrans has instigated a small business first policy. Okay. The first policy for the 18 agencies are for small business and DVBE. Caltrans is only for small business, and it was just recently raised from 333 up to 388,000 for their minor B projects. Okay, that's how this all works. So I've given you a list of people. Now, next slide. I'm going to tell you what to tell them. It's called the 30-second elevator speech. Your full name, your company name, your certification number, and what you do in 30 seconds. So it would go something like this. Good morning. My name is Wayne Gross. I'm with ABC Fence Company. I'm certified as a small business and disabled veteran. My supplier ID number is 1752943. And I build fences, be it chain link, wood, or cement. Can you help me? Short, sweet, and to the point. All of the advocates have been trained by either me or my peers on the 30-second elevator speech. We tell the advocates that when that phone rings at their desk, that it's you, the small business, ready to give them your 30-second elevator speech. And did you notice that I slowed down on my supplier ID number? And the reason I did that is because if the advocate's trying to find a piece of paper and pencil, okay, by the time you are giving them your supplier ID number, they found their paper and pencil. Okay, next slide. So now let's talk about a resume. We call it a capabilities statement. So if you go to Google and type capabilities statement examples, next slide, you get a whole plethora of examples. This is all public access. These are former capability statements. Open it up, find one that you like, okay? Next slide. And this is an example of one. I'm offering my services as well as James offering his services to help you, okay? You've got his contact information and mine. As an overview, on the very top, it says capabilities statement, plural. And the reason it's pluralized is when you read his first paragraph on this, he has more than one capability, okay? There are 3 rules. The first one page. It can be double-sided. The second, make sure you have your supplier ID number on here. And you notice on the bottom right, I've got my supplier ID number. And the third thing is on the left side are the UNSPSC parent codes. Remember, those are the codes that end in 00, and they have their description, okay? Now, let's go back to the certifications. You'll notice that this gentleman has 2, 4, 6, 7 certifications, okay? Because he got certified with Reciprocity Partners, and each one of those agencies has a supplier ID number, and he's identified them, okay? He also has a California Multiple Award Schedule contract, and he's got that information under his certifications, okay? And the one thing I want to mention now, since we've covered all 3, is there are 3 places those supplier ID numbers need to go. The first place is on your signature block on your email at the very bottom, okay? And in this case, this guy's got 6 or 7 plus his CMAS. All of those are going under. So when he sends out an email, he's telling the world all these certifications, free advertising. The second place is your website, if you have one. You put your certifications on there, free advertising. And the third place is here on the capabilities statement, free advertising. Now, I mentioned on the left-hand side here, he's got the UNSPSC parent codes. Those are the ones that end in 00, and the description, right? Well, gotta tell you that there are reciprocity partners who do not use the UNSPSC codes, the United Nations Specialty Product Specialty Codes. They use the federal NAICS codes, North America Industry Classification System. And so on here, you'll notice on the right side, they have the NAICS codes. They've got the codes and their description. And so this is complete, okay? This has all the information that if you go to an event and you have DGS, you've got Bart, okay? You've got the city of San Francisco. They all, your capability statement is going to be good because you have the NAICS codes, you've got the UNSPSC codes, and under certifications, you've got their certifications. Next slide. Any questions on this portion?
Aruj is asking a question which should be an opportunity for review. How can we get access to past successful bids awarded to other bidders?
That was with skippers, where you go to quick links on the top. The fourth option is the past solicitations. Takes you to the search engine. You either put in a keyword or do an advanced search with a UNSPSC code.
All right. And it's quite easy.
Yes.
All right, good chance to review. I don't see any other questions at this time, so let's keep going.
Keep on going.
All right.
Okay, so we're back to caliprocure.ca.gov. We get certified box, okay? And here it says, learn about acquisition methods, okay? Next slide. This is a 2-page handout, okay? And it talks about contracts exempt from advertising. And there are 3. One is the small business Ddbe option or first policy. Goods and services below 10,000. They only need to get 1 buyer, but there are requirements that the buyer has to jump through. And the last is the emergency contracts, and we'll talk about that here in about 5 or 10 minutes. On the right side are our leverage procurement agreements, LPAs. The biggest one, next slide, is the California Multiple Award Schedule. We have other that are statewide contracts and some IT contracts. Here again, you can pull up this 2-page document and see all that information. I want to talk about award schedule. And their email is cmas@dgs.ca.gov. And so if you go to dgs.ca.gov and put CMAS in the search engine, you will come to their website. Okay, next slide. Let's go back one. So let me talk about CMAS. Okay, your state certification is good for all state agencies. It is also your foot in the door to get certified with the Reciprocity Partners. CMAS is good for state agencies, Reciprocity Partners, and cities, counties, school districts, community colleges, the UC and the CSU college systems. Okay, now, our program mirrors the federal program called GSA, General Services Administration. Now, their application is 125 to 150 pages long and takes up to 2 years for the feds to approve it. Once it's approved, it goes into an electronic database. And so it becomes public access. All of the federal buyers can go into that directory and find out what they need. Okay, now, why do I bring this to your attention? Because CMAS, our application is down to 5 pages, and we are down to 24 hours in approval. There's got to be a hook here, right? Here's the hook. Okay. The hook is this. Our CMAS application, you have to have a GSA schedule. And so our people at CMAS at dgs.ca.gov will help you piggyback off an established GSA schedule. Okay, and so there are exceptions, and I'm not going to go through them because I want the CMAS people to tell you if you qualify or not. And so all you have to do is email cmas@dgs.ca.gov, tell them that Wayne Gross sent you, and this is what you do. Do you qualify to get a CMAS contract? If they say yes, they will spoon feed you. They will tell you everything that you need to do to fill out an application. If they say no, they'll say, I'm sorry, you don't qualify, but thanks for asking. Because the last thing you want to do is fill out an application and find out that you didn't qualify from the beginning. Okay, next slide. These are our data dashboards. Department spend, UNSPSC spend, leverage procurement agreement spend, top 10 department spend, top 10 UNSPSC spend, and certified small business DVBE spend comparison. Why am I bringing this to your attention? It's to show you what we're buying. Next slide. So where are these? If you go to dgs.ca.gov and in the search engine, put in dashboards and hit search. Next slide. Statewide procurement data dashboards. Click it. And you get all 6 of them right there. And so I'm clicking on department spend, the top left one, click it. And on the left side, I put in the fiscal year I'm looking for and the department. And then it tells me how much non-IT, 231 million, non-IT goods, 22 million, IT goods, IT services, telecom. So if I'm in the IT world, goods and services, okay, this is telling me, you know, here's what DGS is spending. And you can do that for all 6 dashboards. Next slide. CUF, commercially useful function. Here is what CUF is all about. It's executing a distinct element of the work, performing, managing, or supervising the work, performing work that is normal for the firm's business, services, and functions, negotiating price, determining quality and quantity, ordering, installing, and making payment, not subcontracting a portion of the work greater than expected by industry practices. Next slide. This is what CUF isn't: an extra participant in a transaction, contract, or project through which funds are passed in order to obtain the appearance of small business DVB participation. An example, I'm a prime and my brother-in-law is a disabled veteran who is certified. I called Joe up and said, hey, Joe, you're still certified as a DVBE, right? He goes, yeah. And I say, how about this? I want to use your DVBE number, supplier ID number. You don't have to do anything. At the end of the project, I'll slip you $5,000. Okay? That's illegal. Unfortunately, it happens all the time. Not being used to perform the work as stipulated in the bid. No longer used to provide goods or services listed in the initial bid. Okay? It is punishable. If we catch you, it's like $20,000 per episode. Okay, and we've gotten a couple people on that list. They're not allowed to bid on state contracts for 3 years, or maybe never, depending on the severity. And you know, if they've got 5 or 6 situations, you know, 20,000 times 6, it's $120,000, and that doesn't count the court costs. So you know, be honest. Do what you say you can do. Next slide. Questions and answers on this one?
I don't see any questions here. I just want to note that that someone from the GSA didn't take too kindly to your words about the GSA schedule timeline, and they said it was the timeline's a bit shorter, 12 months max. But
oh, well, that's changed. Okay, it's always been up to 2 years. So, but again, it's relative to their application.
sure,
Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's keep on going. We're
Okay.
almost done. We were talking about COVID and the fires. And because of those two situations, these are emergency situations. We need goods and services today, not a month from now. And so my branch created this emergency registry. Okay. And next slide. And a business should not register unless they are capable, fully capable of immediately providing the goods and or services they list. We started this at the beginning of October, and we are over 500 registered small businesses in Dvbe. And we are over 125 buyers throughout the state. Next slide. This is some of the categories. And next slide. Here's what you'll need to register: your certification number, the emergency categories, your description of products and services. I would literally copy and paste all your keywords from your profile, your business address, and your contact information, both primary and emergency after hours. Okay, next. And there's the link for the registry, and for more information, there's that link. Next slide. So if you go to Cali Procure and click on Find Training and Resources, you'll see the third option under Inside State Contracting is the Emergency Registry. Next slide. Here is the whole program in black and white. What is highlighted on the left is for you as a small business or Ddbe, where you can get registered. Okay, that should take you maybe 2 or 3 minutes to register. And so if there is an emergency in your area, the buyers can come in and look you up and call you up and say, hey, this is what I need. Can you provide the services? Okay, if they can't, then they have to go to the big buyers, Amazon, Walmart, whatever, and pay 3 or 4 times the cost of something that you as a small business or Ddbe could have provided for a less cost. Next slide. So our resources. The first place is the SBDCs, that's the Small Business Development Centers. That's for brand new businesses. And they can provide counseling, planning, marketing, and access to capital. If you are an established business, that's when you want to talk to James at the PTAC, Procurement Technical Assistance Center. And here again, it's government contracting. I've been working with Norcal Ptac now for 7 or 8 years now, and they give excellent service. I'm not just saying that, they've proven to me, they're there to help. And last, if you are a newer business, there is SCORE. It's a business mentorship. They're retired business executives who want to help a new business get on their feet. Next slide. So in review, we talked a whole bunch of stuff in 1 hour and 15 minutes. The program, the Small Business Development Centers, state certifications, certification benefits, the Cali Procure registration and certification, keywords and UNSPSC codes, current bid solicitations, past purchases, the advocates, the California multiple award schedule, commercially useful function, and the emergency register. Next slide. If you happen to have a success story, we'd like you to share it with us at custserve@dgs.ca.gov. Next slide. Upcoming events.
Yeah, I'll just jump in real quick. We don't need to spend a lot of time on this slide, but Norcal Ptac is always putting on free events. We don't charge anything for these. You can find these on our website, norcalptac.org/calendar. The second part of this webinar series, they always come in pairs with these webinars with Wayne and the DGS, is coming up on Thursday, same time. So if you'd like to get more information, especially what to do after you're certified with the California state government, please join. The link will be active here when we share the slides, or you can just find it on our website calendar. We're also later this month, well, actually in just a few days afterwards, on the 28th, we're going to have a webinar with the County of Santa Clara, which is Introduction on Government Contracting. And then just a look ahead into March, we're having a Women in Construction Week series, which is pretty great. We've got these 3 webinars lined up back to back, 8th, 9th, and 10th, 3 p.m. and 10 a.m. So please take a look at those if you have a woman-owned business that's in the business of construction. So do take a look for those coming up. Like I said, they're always free to join. And so we'd love to see you there.
Okay, next slide.
All right, we got
Any
one
more questions?
Q&A. We're getting some people saying thanks. So
Before you leave, I got one more thing. I'm going to go next slide.
yeah, I don't see any questions here. But.
Okay. Okay, if you go to this link, https www.linkedin.com/company/DGS-OSDS/ you will come to this link and you click on it. And you can, we have some training that you can do through Microsoft Bookings, and you click on that. Next slide. And there are 4 things that you can you can ask to talk about: introduction to state contracting, Cal e-Procure registration and certification, find contract opportunities, and update my Cal e-Procure profile. And you have a link down there at the bottom, or go to the next slide. You can click on that, what do they call that? The code? Yeah, there you go. Next slide.
QR code, yeah.
QR code, there we go.
Actually,
the next slide.
I didn't even know how to use that until just the other week. You just point your camera at it.
That's right, that's all you do.
I've seen around, I just had no idea.
Yeah. Anyway, it takes you to whatever thing you want, okay? And you click on it, and then it pulls up a calendar and a time and date. Next slide. Select date and time, right? And next slide. And then the one thing it says here, phone number is optional. Please give us your phone number. I just had a meeting this morning on this, and our biggest complaint has been you scheduled one and you forgot all about it. And at least if we can call you and say, hey, you're supposed to be having this training with me, you know, and either you say, oh yes, or we re-record it. You know, we get you another time frame. So please give us a phone number as well as your email. There again is my email information, wayne.d.gross@dgs.ca.gov. My phone number, 279-946-8387. Thank you all. Thank you, James, for inviting us. I will see you, Nick, on Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Absolutely. Thanks as usual, Wayne. We really, I think everyone really appreciates the work you put in these presentations and sharing this with everybody. And yeah, Wayne is here to help, and we are as well. So it's a good partnership, and we're looking forward to next time on Thursday.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.